In our May podcast episode, we're highlighting some pretty incredible people, thanks to the Best of Roanoke winners as voted on by you, our dear readers. Today, I am thrilled to introduce Abby Hamilton, the dynamic president and CEO of United Way of Roanoke Valley. Recently recognized as the Platinum winner for our brand new category, Best Community Builder of the Year, Abby's passion for making a difference is truly inspiring. Let's learn more about her remarkable journey, leadership insights, and vision for a much stronger community, even more than we already have. Welcome, Abby. Thanks so much for coming on From Print to Podcast.
Thanks for having me here.
So excited to have you. So before we even get started on this, I have a fun little surprise, which we're going to show on our YouTube video. But so you were named our Best Community Builder of the Year in our Best of Roanoke poll. And so that was a brand new category that we started. And so we sent a photographer out and did some photos. And I'm so pleased to show you your cover.
Oh my gosh. That was a genuine surprise reaction.
So this will be you on our cover for our May-June issue. And thank you so much for allowing us to come into your space and feature you and share your dynamic light across our cover. We're really excited about this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
Thank you. And there'll be more images and things inside with the feature, of course. But we're so excited that it was just... You look so happy and so vibrant. We were just so excited to have you be part of this issue. So thank you, truly. Really appreciate it. But in speaking about that, we're curious about the recognition. I know this is sort of individual people who win sort of things are always really surprised and kind of shocked about this. But the readers really came out and showed that you were making a difference in our community. And so I was wondering how maybe that recognition might mean to you personally, as well as how does that reflect the collective efforts of the community?
Wow. It's such an amazing honor. And I don't think until you showed me that it kind of really sunk in.
Good.
That it was actually real. The word community builder has a very deep meaning for me because I get images in my mind of somebody that nurtures relationships, builds trust, brings people together. And so I have very high expectations, and to imagine myself in that same category is kind of thrilling. But also at the same time, it's very humbling because I think about the only reason I get to do what I do is because I'm building on the work that's happened before me. And so I get to build on the legacy of change that other people have started long before I came along. And now I have the incredible honor of being able to continue that work and then equip those behind me. So to be part of something so enduring and something so meaningful like that is such a great honor for me.
And can I ask, because I know we've included you in a Do You Know in the past column, but you're not from the area, correct?
I am not.
Okay. So when did you move here?
I moved in 2002.
Okay.
I moved from the Philippines. Don't do the math, I was about 24 at that time. So I was kind of fresh out of college, a couple of years into the workforce.
Bright-eyed and energized.
Yeah, exactly. And very idealistic, too.
Well, aren't we all, Well, we'll talk about sort of your living in Roanoke and where we love to eat and play and go. That's always the last thing we cap up with our guests. But in terms of this diverse journey that you just mentioned, how you ended up here from witnessing the people power revolution in the Philippines to leading the United Way of Roanoke Valley, especially leading this organization during the challenging time of COVID. I mean, come on, that had to be just truly something. Curious about how those experiences have shaped your approach to community building.
Oh my gosh. I kind of look at every experience that I've encountered in my life as something that's an added ingredient to my understanding of the complexity of what community building really entails. So I look back at my experiences witnessing people power revolution in the Philippines, how communities have risen from disasters and all of these different things. And it kind of just gave me a very solid belief in what people can do when we band together. So I think that story kind of really started from there. And I think those experiences and that deep belief actually served me really well when COVID came, because at that point I was probably 3 months into the job.
Oh my gosh. Welcome.
Yes.
That's great. Yeah.
And it kind of just said, I know we can do this because I've seen it work. Right. And people are the same no matter where they are in the world. And it kind of gave us the ability to be nimble, to really think through creatively how we're making solutions. And again, immediately bring together partners that we knew were going to be essential to us making something happen. And so those are the kinds of things that I've seen happen. I got to apply it and then learn a few more lessons along the way.
Yeah.
And then one of the proudest moments I think that I can look back into during the pandemic was launching and using a coordinated enrollment system, so that we're calling Smart to Start. So basically, it's an online portal where parents can look for childcare or preschool care wherever they are in the region, and it kind of streamlines that research process for them.
That's amazing because, I mean, I know from my friends' experiences that it is very difficult to find daycare to begin with because you have to get on a waiting list for like a couple of years even.
Yes. So, I mean, not only can you search through that database, it also kind of gives you information so that do you want it close to your home, close to work, maybe within a bus route, customizing it to the needs of families. And when I last checked with our team, ever since that tool launched, it's been used like 11,000 times for searches, right? Like for people looking. So we know it's a need.
It's working.
And what a wonderful thing that was born, right, out of the COVID pandemic, and now it's getting replicated across the state as a wonderful model.
It's always interesting to see. I mean, we're 2024. Hard to, I feel like it's a fever dream sometimes. But like 4 years out from the pandemic, to see the gaps that needed to be filled and how organizations like yours figured out how to do that, even in the midst of all the many things you were already trying to do and take care of within the organization.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm curious if you could just share United Way of Roanoke Valley. What's the kind of the broad overview, like listeners, if they want to know more about it? I mean, what is it that you do and how you impact the community in such a way?
Well, our mission for the last 100 years has been mobilizing the caring power of people in our community to do good. And since 2018, we adopted a vision, and what we wanted to see happen was to bring 10,000 families towards self-sufficiency by 2030. Wow. It's so ambitious, and we're about halfway there to that goal. And so we've got some more time to do that. And what we've learned when we set that goal was there were some essential elements that needed to be in place. One, that collaboration was going to be key. That was kind of like a non-negotiable in that we needed to make sure that there is a way to help families kind of navigate the current system so that they could connect to the resources that they needed. And then there was an aspect of it too about true engagement and having it be driven by the individual and the family itself. So us being in a supporting role, so to speak, in that work. And so we've seen that work progress over the last, 6 years now. And we've seen some incredible results, not just in individual lives that are impacted, but also like how work is getting done across partners. So I'm going to give you an example. One of the collaborations that United Way is supporting is a network of after-school programs. And so there's about 350 students that get to benefit from educational support, enriching activities after school, and even being able to access mental health services for themselves and their family at those sites. And then there's a collaborative that we have around workforce development, right? So we've changed how that is done in the community by making sure that as we're upskilling the workforce, we're also helping to find jobs, right? And for people to maintain those jobs. And the way that we've done that through these partnerships is to identify what people's barriers might be and addressing what those are, right? It might be childcare, after school care, might be housing, it might be food insecurity. Sometimes it's transportation or the lack of a tool or equipment to be able to start a new job. And so finding those specific barriers that people have, so relating it to a very personal level, and then being there with the partners to kind of make all of that stuff happen.
That's a lot of things that you're touching. I mean, that's not just an after school program. That's so much more. And that's really important for multiple reasons. Again, not just for the ones you listed, but so listeners are sick of hearing it, but my husband is a middle school teacher. So he obviously sees some of those kids on a daily basis, how they're interacting with each other and their families, what they're doing after school. And so if they're not involved in extracurriculars or clubs, where are they going so that they essentially in a nutshell, stay off the street and out of violence or out of problematic situations that they're in their neighborhoods or whatever. And so you're providing a real opportunity for them to not be involved with that and to find another path for themselves. So that's really amazing.
It was also this year, or at least the last few years, that we've really focused also on public policy and kind of recognizing that, hey, we can make do with what we have and make it better. But an even more powerful tool is for us to be a voice for the people that we're serving and ask for things to change. And so using the collective power of United Way, its partners, donors, volunteers, to be able to ask for certain changes that impact the people that we serve has been life-changing.
Yeah, that's truly amazing. And so again, we've kind of talked about this under your leadership. United Way of Roanoke Valley has set that ambitious goal to elevate 10,000 families to self-sufficiency. I mean, by 2030, that's feels like far away. It's not. It's 6 years away. But like you said, you're halfway through that goal.
Yes.
And so I'm curious about, if you haven't already listed some of them, but some of those additional strategies and initiatives that maybe you're implementing to achieve such a wonderful goal.
Yeah, so I've mentioned a few of them, which is really essentially built on collaboration. And a couple of other things that I kind of am proudest of is the work that we're doing, again, eliminating barriers for people. And also we do that by making sure that we utilize some community health workers. So there's a strategy that is evidence-based, and it's been shown that as we hire people who are trusted members of the community that we're trying to serve, they are going to be more impactful in delivering outcomes. And so we have in the community deployed community health workers who are trusted members of those neighborhoods, communities that we're trying to reach. And they essentially are helping families to navigate, to identify the needs that they have and connect them to those resources. So walking them with them on their journey.
That's critical, because some families, I mean, you don't even know what questions to ask until you're suddenly at that situation. And so you're there to kind of prepare them for some of those things that maybe they don't even know that they're coming down the way. Yeah. That's really incredible.
And then I also kind of think about what a wonderful thing it would be to have a community health worker deployed in more places, right? Like right now, I think we probably have United Way supports maybe 5 of them. But we all know there's more need than what 5 people can handle. So what an amazing thing for us to be able to kind of bring that to life as part of us growing into the centennial.
And listeners, we'll share some links on our podcast episode website in terms of how to volunteer, how to donate, how to give back and participate in this organization, because, you might not have that medical background, but certainly there are other ways to contribute and participate in this, because that's a really incredible goal. I can't wait to see you guys hit that 2030. It's going to be amazing. So in thinking about the feedback from those you serve, I mean, the feedback is a crucial component. Obviously, you've listed that. You're hearing what the people are telling you, and you're trying to fill those gaps and what they need. And so how you're ensuring that the voices of the community are heard, I mean, that's such a big job. Like, how do you integrate that feedback into your overall goals and strategies? Because there's so much. There's so many.
And which voices do you listen to, right?
Well, good question.
Aside from the ones in your head.
Great. Yeah, I got a few of those. Yeah, great question.
So I think one of the things that we had to do first was also adopt a broader definition of what community engagement meant, right? So, and then as a result of that, we've adopted a recognition that feedback is only one way to engage individuals in this work. And so in order for us to be effective, we recognize that community engagement is critical for sustainable outcomes and to also create a sense of ownership with people, right? Yeah. So what we've done is to create more avenues for people to be involved, not just as things are being designed, but even as things are being implemented, decisions are being made, and kind of equipping and empowering them. And again, it's a very different United Way in terms of being behind people and making sure that people who need to be heard are front and center. So I think about a great example of that. We have one project in partnership with the city of Roanoke called Neighbors United. So it's a very targeted neighborhood. And what we've done there is to go door to door in partnership with the city of Roanoke, kind of just meeting the neighbors, being there on a regular and consistent basis so that people recognize you. And then taking some of the things that they're sharing with us to heart. So during that process, the neighborhood residents identified a need that they wanted. They wanted to clean up their neighborhood. we help them to make that happen.
And that sounds like such a simple thing. And maybe to some degree it is, but that's a tangible thing, right? Once it's cleaned up and you look out and you see, I did that work. There's an immense amount of pride in something like that.
Yes. Yeah. I can do something.
Exactly. Even if it's just picking up trash in your neighborhood, like that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says. Like that's the first step in making sure that you're becoming part of that community.
Yes. And so, especially for communities or neighborhoods that feel like they've been ignored or marginalized or whatnot, how empowering is it to have a partner that kind of is listening to you, actually letting you take the lead,
right? Yeah, who knew? Yeah.
On it, and then kind of just being behind the scenes, kind of connecting dots, looking for resources, connecting partners, so that they can be successful. To us, that is what true community engagement means to United Way.
Yeah, and what does that success look like? Is it a family no longer depending on your services, essentially?
Yes.
Becoming successful enough in whatever that means for them so that they don't have to rely on your services, even though you're there if you ever need it again.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Amazing.
Well, and then another example I think about it is the power of, we talked about this earlier, the power of having somebody who is of the community, who is a trusted member of that neighborhood, to be the face of any issue that we are trying to address or represent.
That's important too, because some neighbors don't necessarily trust somebody who's outside of their neighborhood because who knows? I mean, that's a good point. And if you have a trusted individual who their face, that what they mean, what they stand for, that's pretty critical.
Yeah, so finding some of these allies out in our neighborhoods, they're there, right? Like they're already the go-to people. And so that's what we call our community health workers. It's a connotation of health, but really it's in a broad sense of they're not necessarily giving medical care. They're helping people.
Yeah.
In their overall well-being.
I didn't think about it in terms of health, but overall health. So I think that's a really interesting concept. It's not just about, your medicine. That's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah. So sometimes it's about, accessing medical care, but often it's connecting to mental health supports, maybe food. Sometimes it's that social emotional support of feeling community surrounding you.
Right. And I imagine that the mental health piece is pretty complex and I imagine there are a lot of questions around that, both from the families as well as from your own team, trying to figure out what the next step is for this client or child or whoever it is. There's a lot that goes into just that one little piece.
Yes, and that kind of just underscores the importance of continuing to listen.
Right.
Right. And also continuing to partner and expanding that partnership to other players that might not have been there before.
Yeah. And I'm curious about if you feel like it and you want to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'd love to hear about some of the partnerships that you have. If you want to give a shout out to some of the organizations or partners that you've really just been really with you this year.
Oh my gosh. So I will brag about them day in and day out.
I'll give you 5 minutes. How about that?
Well, for one, I've been mentioning collaborations that United Way has nurtured over the years, and some of them are led by great partners. So they basically have a group of agencies that are working alongside them with United Way. So I would give a shout out to CHIP of Roanoke Valley, who's leading some of our early learning work. I will shout out our Family Service of Roanoke Valley, who is providing the mental health supports for our network of after-school partners and convening them. And then, of course, TAP and also our Workforce Development Board for working together to have a more successful workforce development system here in the Roanoke Valley. So they've been really so proud of them. And even our healthcare partners in Healthy Roanoke Valley or other collaboratives like that have been in the front lines working on this for years.
Yeah. I love that. So we're talking about, you and I were speaking a few minutes before we started. And so Julia Boas was in here from Roanoke Regional Partnership. And so we were talking about collaboration. And so it's wonderful. Every time I sit down to talk to somebody on this podcast, collaboration comes up. And I think that is so key, not only because I don't want to say we're a small community because we're pretty large, 100,000 people, but still, we have a tight-knit community. And so we don't need to be siloed. in individual industries or desks or whatever.
Yes.
Like, this is a wonderful opportunity to reach across the aisle and figure out how your organization compare with mine and what we're missing versus what you can fill. Like, I think collaboration is so key when it comes to this region, because we can't do it without somebody else helping us.
Yes.
Like, right? I mean,
I think it's also kind of the recognition that problems are always more complicated than one
oh my
organization
gosh.
can handle.
Right. You think it's going to be easy, and then you get into it and you're like, oh, here's 57 things I don't know how to
Yes.
do. Cool. And that's just so key. Like, I love that you're not doing it by yourself.
Yes.
And you shouldn't have to do it by yourself. What you're doing is a really big job, and nobody should have to shoulder that alone. That's too much.
Right. And then I think that's also about, right, like recognizing how complicated social issues are.
Right.
And then the next is also recognizing that there are incredible assets in our community, right? Whether or not they're organizations, people, neighborhood leaders, at all levels, they're there, and they can be part of driving a solution that will work for more people.
Yeah. It makes me love this community.
I
just
know. I'm
so
like,
very
I
much.
talk about collaboration and
know.
examples all day.
All day. And so you've also, we were talking about the importance of fostering the next generation of leaders, these new people who are going to step up and help in whatever way that is needed. And so I'm curious about what advice you might give to young individuals, whether they've been part of your organization in some fashion or not. They're looking to make a difference, maintain a healthy work-life balance. What sort of advice are you giving to those aspiring do-gooders?
Yeah, I'm hoping that our young leaders, our young professionals that are coming, won't take as long as I did to learn some of these lessons. So yes, if it helps at all, I think we have to find something that helps you get up in the morning and kind of inspires you to kind of go at it real hard. That is the thing that kind of will drive that desire to make a difference. And so regardless of the setbacks that you experience, you draw from that over and over again.
Well, and what I think is interesting, calling back to the first thing we talked about, which is you didn't know at the time that your experience was going to lead you to where you are today, right?
Oh, and no clue.
Right.
No clue.
But now you look back on it and you're like, those things sort of add up to where I am today. And I just didn't realize it. And I think, again, sort of my birthday was pretty recently, so I'm thinking about this. But in terms of as we get older, we realize all these steps that have led here. But when you're a little younger and trying to figure out what that passion is and what you're doing, it's hard to see that far ahead.
Yes.
But it proves that those little things that you do along the way truly do matter and add up to the big picture once you're a little bit older and look back and realize, wow, I'm here because of all the work that I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you find what you're passionate about, talk about it, right? Like, you'll eventually find other people that share the same passion.
Right,
And when you do, do small things. It doesn't have to be something big, but start with small things, and then you can go from there, and you'll see something grow from the perspective of somebody who has seen things that have started with just an idea. Things will happen.
Yeah.
We just have to be really patient about that. And of course,
patience.
yeah, I know, right? But at the same time, while we're doing that, we also kind of have to recognize that we can only give our best selves to the work, to others, when we are whole ourselves, right? So we need to make sure that we are resting, getting enough sleep, eating healthy, doing any physical activity, which I don't.
Yeah.
But also doing things that kind of feed your soul, because there will be hard times, there will be disappointments, there will be some of these setbacks that we experience, and taking care of ourselves and prioritizing ourselves daily, right, is imperative in order for us to be part of the long game of change.
When Julie and I were talking a little bit earlier, we were thinking about there are a lot of organizations or groups that are already doing a lot of really powerful work. And so I think it's important to remember, as an aspiring do-gooder, as a young professional, that to look for the resources in your area that already exist. It's fantastic to take what you know and to try and develop it, but then you feel like it's an uphill battle or whatever. And so knowing that you're doing the work that they want to do, all they got to do is reach out to you and say, how can I help? I mean, I think that that's really important too, is reaching out to those organizations if you feel passionate about something, instead of trying to do it all by yourself.
That is correct.
Yeah, because we got to do it as a group, right? That collaboration and whatever
Exactly.
that means.
Going back to that theme.
Exactly. And so you mentioned that you're actually celebrating your 100th year of service. That is really exciting for any organization. And so United Way of Roanoke Valley, with its 100th year of service in 2024, surely you have some sort of statement or message you'd like to share with partners, volunteers, staff, and donors who have supported this mission over the decades.
Oh my gosh. It's so incredible to think that at this point of history, I get to be part of an organization that has invested in this community and been doing good things, right, for 100 years. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. But I don't think we would ever have gotten this far without the incredible support of this entire community, whether or not they were volunteers with us, donors, partners in the work, board members, everybody that's been part of that journey. And more, as we were going through the centennial, I would meet people who would talk to me about their experience volunteering with United Way from like the 80s, from way back, right? Yeah. And that's kind of fostered their love for United Way. And so I just want to thank everybody for being part of that United Way journey. And we have such an exciting work ahead and century ahead. I want everybody to be part of that experience too. You mentioned earlier, we are halfway through our goal of 10,000 families self-sufficiency. I think we can beat that goal.
I do too. You're already halfway there. My gosh.
And so I'm inviting everybody to be part of that and be part of the celebrations that are happening this year with us. This is your celebration too. You are part of United Way because you're part of this community. Right. So visit us on our website, uwrv.org, and find ways that you can be part of that celebration this year.
Yes, lots of great ways to celebrate. And again, listeners, we'll share that on our website as well. And I'll spell it out for you before we head out. But so finally, for all of our guests, because you didn't just move here. You've been here for a little while. So you've gotten to know the area. Where are you, your family, your friends, where are you eating, playing, going in this region?
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I love to eat. So,
girl, me too.
So eat. I am a big fan of the cuisines and the different cultures that are part of that stretch of Williamson Road. I am a super big fan.
Me too.
I'm a super big fan. So you will always run into me somewhere in one of those.
I love it.
And then, of course, I love when the Filipino community gets together, whether or not it's a large gathering or it's just a party at somebody's house. Those are opportunities where I get to enjoy some of my favorite Filipino foods and kind of get a little nostalgia back in my head.
Yeah, and I hope it's not too nostalgic because we want to keep you here forever and always.
Oh yeah, so. No. And then I think over the last few years, because I'm part of those groups that meet, I've gotten to practice and learn how to make some of these dishes too. So that was neat.
Well, next time you're coming in here, you know what I'm going to ask for. Then I'm going to make you make me some food. So.
And then play. We're so blessed with all of our outdoor amenities, and something is never far away, right? It's always within walking distance to be able to enjoy that. And nature and being outdoors is part of what recharges me. So I'm grateful that we had to do that. And of course, my favorite couple of spots, Blue Ridge Parkway, and also the spots along the Appalachian Trail that we get to enjoy. Love that. And then where do I go? I love going to different neighborhood activities, whether or not they're organized because or by virtue of my job too, right?
Sure.
Neighborhood cleanups. I was a volunteer during the mass vaccination clinic, so I did several of those.
Man, thank you for doing that. That's not easy work.
But it's the thing that kind of feeds my soul. So when I see, we have the ability to work together in projects like this, it's very tangible and makes me feel good. So I love being part of those things.
Well, we're so grateful to have you here in the area because it sounds like you're doing the good work. Readers have decided that totally and completely as our Platinum winner of Community Builder of the Year. Thank you for the work that you're doing, not just with United Way, but of course for the community as a whole, truly.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful, wonderful honor, and we get to do it together. So thank you to everybody.
Let's collaborate all year round. And of course, we're going to send you home with your cover, your special cover. I hope you don't mind being our cover girl for the next couple of months. Hopefully lots of people come talk to you about it. So But thank you again. That was Abby Hamilton, President and CEO of United Way of Roanoke Valley. Thank you for her time today and, of course, all she does for our community thanks to the impactful work through the organization. You can learn more about volunteering, donating, participating, collaborating, all the things we've talked about at uwrv.org, uwrv.org. We will list that on our website. You can see Abby on our cover, learn more about her platinum win as chosen by you, as well as more about her incredible work in our May-June Best of Roanoke feature, as well as see the full list of winners of your chosen winners and so much more in our latest issue on newsstands now, or you can always go and see more at theroanoker.com.